Morning, this is Brian. Today is Saturday, March 19th, 2019. I'm kind of getting off to a late start because it's already after 9 a.m. You know me, I'm usually out hiking early. Well, I left my house at 6:30 to get here to this town called Angelus Oaks here in the San Bernardino Mountains. This is San Bernardino County, California. It's next to Riverside County, even borders Orange and LA counties. So I'm about an elevation of 5,800 feet right here. My goal today is to hike up to Constance Peak. Constance Peak, you can't see it from here, but it's off in this general direction. So basically, I'm going to hike along this road for a short distance. This is State Highway 38. Big thoroughfare here in the San Bernardino Mountains. This is the San Bernardino National Forest. That way takes you to Big Bear. This way takes you to the bottom of the mountain towards Mentone and towards Redlands in the valley. My intention was this morning to come up the 38 from Mentone, from that side, but I ended up making a mistake on the freeway. Somehow got on the 210 west. Then I had to get on the turnaround and then take the. Then I just gave up on trying to go east and ended up taking Highway 330 through Running Springs, which is kind of off to the west from here. If you wanted to get to Running Springs from here, you'd have to go basically either down to Mentone, get onto the 210, and then get on the 330, or take a long haul around the back side of that ridge on 38 and get back onto the 18. It's a nice cool morning. It's probably in the low 40s. Like I said, my goal today is Constance Peak, which is a prominent peak above Angelus Oaks. I'm just making sure my car is locked. There we go. And its elevation is 6,645 feet. Sorry for that. Now, what I'm going to do is walk along 38 for a short distance, because I'm right on the outskirts of Angelus Oaks, the name of the community right here. There's my Jeep. There's that ridge again. That's looking out over towards Crafts and Butler Peaks. Right over there is Slide Peak up there, and then Keller Peak is behind the Big Cone Douglas fir. Never done Constance Peak before, so this should be interesting. It's supposed to be some pretty steep sections. I have snow boots on in case I get caught up in snow, but I don't know if there's going to be a lot, because on this side, not a lot of snow. The other side, there's quite a bit towards Big Bear. Always seems to be a lot more snow towards Big Bear than over on this side. So, alright, comes the road walk. I have to hike along Highway 38 for a little while. Hopefully there's enough of a shoulder for me to walk on. There's Big Cone Douglas fir right there, Pseudotsuga macrocarpa. Kind of miss being around those. It's been a few weeks. Been quite a few weeks since I've been around them, so it's always nice to see them. Alright, the shoulder here is very narrow. Alright. This is going to be cute. I don't like walking along highways. But this is the turnout that's near town. So there's a small peak. I believe it's over there. It's a very small, not very prominent peak. about 6,040 feet. So I call it Peak 6040. I'm just hoping that I'm close enough to town. So I don't know if I am. Might have. I don't know. I think that should be the right turnout. It's a huge turnout. Probably gonna have to stop every few feet once this gives out to let traffic go by. As you can tell, it's pretty crazy over here. This should be the right turnout. There's a huge turnout next to town. We'll see. I'll see what's going on. I was behind that Vaughn's truck. Then he pulled over to let us all pass. Passed him earlier. Then I had to pull off by Onyx Summit on 38 to use the restroom really quickly. Then I got behind him again. So third time I've encountered that truck. But I'm going to take a dirt road, and I will see when I get there, because we're by people's houses and I don't want to be too loud and disrespectful. So I'll see you at the trail. Alright, now I'm going to try to find the dirt road that goes behind the post office and hike that. Might be it, I'm not sure. This isn't dirt, this is paved, but I found it. Here's a Forest Service road right here. 1N12. So now I'm on the Forest Service dirt road. Alright. So now I'm going to follow this way. I believe my route should bear left here. That's 1N12. Alright. Well, this is supposed to go behind the post office. So here I go. I'll follow this bad mamma jam up. So my next mission is to find Peak 6040. That'll be my first one of the day. Supposed to be a little dirt road, at least the top of it. So let's see. It's beautiful here though, that's for sure. What a beautiful March 16th, 2019 I'm climbing up a fire road behind the Angelus Oaks post office and the Oaks restaurant, and just came across some beautiful gnarly pinkback manzanitas. This is Arctostaphylos pringli subspecies drupacea, and just like most manzanitas, not all of them, but most of them got that reddish brown smooth bark and roughly ovalish shaped leaves. This I could tell is a pinkback due to its stature. A lot of different species of manzanitas here in Southern California, and quite a few species here in the San Bernardino National Forest, up here in the San Bernardino Mountains. These ones are quite large. These can assume the proportions of roughly a small tree. This very large shrub right here. Now we do, like I said, we do have a lot of species of manzanita here in Southern California, but one of the diagnostics for determining this species is its generally large stature. In fact, very large stature in some cases. I mean, with that, it could be confused with bigberry manzanita, Arctostaphylos glauca, just looking at stature alone and not getting close enough to actually look at the plant. But I typically don't see bigberry manzanita in lush mixed conifer forest like this. Now here's where the difference lies. Well, first let me point out the similarities. They're upright shrubs, large in stature, bigberry and pinkback. However, the details in the one of the grabbing details is in the foliage. Arctostaphylos glauca means glaucus, which both species, pinkback and bigberry, have similar color foliage. But when you rub the leaves, the pinkback manzanita is kind of sandpapery in texture. Sandpapery. It's kind of rough. But bigberry manzanita, their leaves are smooth, hairless, or glabrous is the botanical term for hairless. Like I said, pinkback manzanita leaves are kind of rough, glandular, kind of glandular, hairy. I say they both get about the same size, but I believe pinkback might get a little bit larger. I've seen large specimens in the San Jacintos, which is another mountain range near the San Bernardinos, but off to the south. I've seen large specimens there near Idlewild. So if you go to Idlewild, you'll see some pretty decent specimens of pinkback manzanita there. And there goes a stellar jay, Cyanocida stellari. And some more pinkback over here. Here we have a non-native tree that's been naturalizing here in the San Bernardinos. These leafless winter dormant trees, these are called black locust, Robinia pseudoacacia. They are in the pea family, like the acacias. Pseudoacacia means false acacia in Greek. But that's what these leafless trees here. If you're not careful, some of them have very thorny branches, which can cause you some discomfort. These ones have them right here, these little thorns. So be careful. They're a small to medium-sized winter deciduous tree. Their fall colors, it's really not much fall color to these. And in fact, they mostly shed where they're kind of greenish, maybe a slight yellowing. But I'm gonna get back on the fire road, and I'm gonna hike up to Constance Peak, which is just above the town, and it's gonna be time for a battery change. First one of the day. Whoop-de-doo. So I did make a slight error. Followed this little dirt track. All it did was lead up to a cell phone tower. So I'm basically supposed to go along here. This might be the first boo-boo of the day. But so get over here. Continue following 1 and 12. This is actually the Forest Service road. That was just a little spur to get to a cell tower. It's quite nice here. Nice sunny morning. Probably get kind of warm today. I think it was a mistake to bring my jacket with me. Maybe I'll have to stash it somewhere. But it's beautiful up here, that's for sure. Some nice Jeffrey pines, black oaks, small sugar pines around here. Last week I was hiking in the middle of the Mojave Desert near Lucerne Valley. Did a peak called Eastward Mountain and another peak called 6010 because it's 6,010 feet high. That was just about an all cross-country adventure. It's a beautiful hike. But this week, it's gonna be too hot for desert hiking. Lancaster and Palmdale use their elevation at about 2,500 feet to judge how hot it would be in other desert hikes. But I heard they're supposed to get up in the 80s. Today's only March 16th. So, figured I guess it's time for a higher elevation hike. I'm getting close to 6,000 feet right now. So, it's time to get a little bit higher up. Got my snow boots in case I have to hike in snow, which is a very good possibility. Until then, I won't worry about it until it comes. I will see you at the next checkpoint. Should be pretty soon. Near Peak 6040. Alright, so I'm a short way up the road. Found this trail junction. I believe this is the Santa Ana River Trail right here. I've seen it mapped on Google Earth, but it looks like Google Earth has it following 1 and 12. But yeah, this is I believe the Santa Ana River Trail. It comes down from the Santa Ana Canyon, which is basically this big yawning gorge here, surrounded by this ridge here. I don't know if it has a name. And then we got Keller Peak, 7,882 feet. And then we got 7,841 foot, I believe. Slide Peak there. Can't see it too well here, but Sugarloaf Mountain, the highest point in the San Bernardinos outside of the San Gorgonio Wilderness, just under 10,000 feet, 9,952 feet. So, following up this little dirt track, there's dirt road, 1 and 12, on my way to Peak 6040, which is somewhere over there, and Constance Peak will be further away. We got some really insane views of the Santa Ana River Valley right here, which is insane. Yeah, there's Sugarloaf right there. That's the crown jewel of the Santa Ana River. And we got some large sugar pines coming up here, some Pinus lambertiana, some pretty decent sized ones actually. So it's nice to see. Unlike last week, I was in the desert, enjoying that very much. This week it's time for the pines. I'll see you along the way. I'm gonna look for a junction for 6040 and a battery change. I didn't change my batteries from the last clip. So here I am hiking Forest 1 and 12. In my last clip, I was going to update you when I got close to Peak 6040. So this is 1 and 12. I just saw a four-wheel drive Jeep go by. Now, I'm taking the spur road here. This should take me up to Peak 6040, which should have a relatively bald summit, at least at the center of it. So I'm going to climb up this right here. So far the snow is not too much of a factor today. It's just a little muddy, so I'm wearing my boots today. Just got done recording a video for some decent sized sugar pines. There's some decent ones coming up along from that way past the thicket of Jeffrey pines. Here, just working my way up this little spur. I should be at Peak 6040 very soon. I haven't been hiking for long. It's really close to the town of Angelus Oaks. In fact, there's a spur road still climbing behind us. So snow's not too bad. It's kind of hard packed, but should be at my peak pretty soon. Not Constance Peak, that's the main objective, but if I find a small random peak nearby while I'm researching, a lot of the time I'll take the time to make a hike to it. But let's see. Should be the right spur road. Should be at it pretty soon, actually. I think it's that knoll right there. Sorry for the sun glare. That looks like the most prominent point here. There's a little knoll over here too. I believe that over there, very hard to see here in the camera, but I see Constance Peak over there. First, I'm going to get my bonus summit first. So, could hit it on the way back out, but may as well go for it for now. But you never know. Something could happen along the way. There might be an impassable obstacle that won't allow me to get to Constance, but that's why I may as well climb this one first. Nice little grove here. Try to keep the sun glare from getting on the camera. Let's see. Looks like the top of this knoll will be Peak 6040. is it. This is Peak 6040. It was a little steep coming up there. Wow. A little out of breath today. I don't know why. Last hike was about 7 miles, roughly, and about 2,900 feet elevation gain. But this is the summit. It's not very prominent because it's not very high up above its connecting ridge, but it is a summit. In every direction is lower terrain. I don't think this is going to have a benchmark on it. This is not even on Peak Bagger. This morning before leaving, I added this peak to another website that I use called peakery.com. Peakery. And I added to Peakery because it is a summit. And it's always nice, for me at least, to get a bonus summit when I can. It's quite nice up here. And I call it Peak 6040 because it's about 6,040 feet in elevation. It's probably anywhere between 6,000 and 6,000. Probably between 6,020 and 6,060 feet, but it's probably closer to 6,040. So this is that bare spot that I saw on Google Earth, so I know I'm there. And that right there is Constance Peak. You get a much better view of it now because there's no brush in the way. So basically, going to be following the fire road, the dirt road 1N12. Like I was before, and you can see that scar is the same dirt road I'm going to be hiking along. But my plan is to, right now as it stands, to get on a fire break. I believe it's supposed to leave over that false summit there, then down to a dip and up to the true summit, which is on the left. So now I'm going to take a minute, just enjoy being up here. I shouldn't have to rush myself. I'm off tomorrow too. I'm off today, off tomorrow. Absolutely glorious Saturday. Looking at the larger timber on this side, you get to see some pretty nice timber up and down that slope right there. Cool little perch up here. Kind of digging this peak. Close enough to the town where I can hear dogs barking. And then here we go. My San Gabriels, those snow-covered peaks off in the cut, way off there. Those are the San Gabriels. I can see Cucamonga Peak. I could see Timber Mountains, Telegraph Peak. I can see West Baldy. No, actually that's Mount Harwood. Then I can see Mount Baldy. I can see Dawson and Pine, which are to the right of that. I can see, looks like I can see Wright Mountain from here too. So I can see a lot of my stomping grounds in the San Gabriels. You've seen my blogs or my peak logs on peakery.com, or have heard my videos. No, I love the San Gabriels very much. I love those mountains. I can actually see part of Palomar Mountain way off there, that ridge. That's Palomar Mountain, and that lower one right before this foreground peak, that lower one is Agua-Tibia Mountain, which is just shy of 4,800 feet. But the main Palomar Ridge is mostly above 5,000 feet. And it culminates at a 6,140 foot summit called High Point, which I can't see from here because this bridge right here is in front of it. But very nice up here. So if you're going to hit Constance Peak, coming from the post office, hit Angelus Oaks, you may as well make the short detour up to here. This is a pretty cool one. You get a nice view of the San Gabriels from here, and you can see towards Keller Peak pretty well as well. So nice views up here on Peak 6040. I'm gonna take a few pictures, obviously, and then I'm gonna start making my way towards Constance Peak. So I'm still on Forest Service 1N12 or 1N12 up to a junction. Not exactly sure where this leads, branching off to the right, but I'm going to stay on this side here. That might go up near an unnamed summit. Might have to explore that on the way back. But my intuition is going to keep me going this way towards higher terrain. I see some much higher terrain off that way. So it's a pretty neat hike. All right. Another piece of trivia for Aureophilus people. In other words, mountain lovers. Okay, we got the San Gabriels back here with the snow. I got this small mountain here. That is called Harrison Mountain. The elevation is about 4,743 feet. It's called Harrison Mountain. Has one of the most recognizable shapes of any of the mountains here besides San Gorgonio. Supposed to be a use trail that you take from roughly about halfway up Highway 330, City Creek Road. That's supposed to take you up there. I've never tried it, obviously, because I'm telling you what I've heard. That small mountain is supposed to be a use trail that leads up to the top of that. Never tried it. Would like to one day, but from some trail reports, heard there's a lot of poison oak. And the use trail is very narrow, so that's something to consider. There's a nice large sugar pine right here. Beautiful Pinus lambertiana. Hear a mourning dove cooing in the trees above me. There's a very nice sugar pine. Beautiful tree right here. Nice. This is a beautiful area. We do have some ponderosas around here too. Let me see. Look at the cones. Trying to see how the prickles, they stick out. That's how most non-botanists or amateurs look at it. The cone prickles do stick out. So yeah, we're looking at a ponderosa right here. This is Pinus ponderosa variety pacifica, according to some. But I think there's more of a consensus towards this being listed as Pinus ponderosa subspecies benthamiana. I've seen a lot of conflicting literature about the scientific name of the Pacific ponderosa pine. This is the Pacific ponderosa. This is the same variety or subspecies of ponderosa that you find all the way up the Sierra Nevada, parts of the Coast Ranges in San Luis Obispo and Monterey counties. Basically the same species, and in fact it's the largest variety or subspecies of ponderosa pine. If you've watched my video the spotlight on the about spotlighting the sugar pine, you'll probably hear me say that the ponderosa is a very close second in height to the sugar pine. It's the only tree that can really come close to matching the sugar pine in overall height. Generally, sugar pine's a little bit taller, but the tallest ponderosa pines are very hardcore competitors with the sugar pines for the tallest individuals found. We have sugar pines and ponderosas that have gotten over 260 feet tall. Let's put it that way. That's the same variety. Here in SoCal, the ponderosa pines don't quite get that tall. I've seen them up to maybe about 180 feet. There's some really good examples of 180-foot ponderosas in Cooper Canyon in the Angelus National Forest, coming down from Buckhorn Campground on the Burkhart Trail. You'll see some very large ponderosa pines there. But then again, look at that sugar pine. That's about a 150-foot tree right there. And there's some sugar pines that are quite large in that area as well. And I'm talking about the Angelus National Forest. Here, on average, the San Bernardino Mountains, where I'm hiking right now, the trees tend to be a little bit larger here, larger in size, taller in height, because the sugar pines and the ponderosas here and the Jeffreys, they get more rainfall and more snowfall on average than the San Gabriels. San Gabriels are a little bit drier. That's probably why. You'll see my videos hiking in the San Gabriels, and a lot of the trees are a little bit shorter in stature, and it's a little more arid. Looks a little bit drier. Not to say, like I said, you go to Buckhorn Campground, you'll be thinking, what the heck am I talking about? Because there are some very large trees there. So there's a huge Jeffrey pine along the Burkhart Trail. That's probably about 180 feet tall as well, as you're going down from Buckhorn Campground to the Cooper Canyon Falls area. So if you're going down the Cooper Canyon on the Burkhart Trail, you'll see some very large incense cedars starting from the Buckhorn Campground going down. Very large trees there. So there are some areas up. Icehouse Canyon is supposed to have very large timber. I've never been in the Cucamonga Wilderness. I have not done any of those peaks in that area. I haven't done any of the trails there. So, and there's some very large trees going up Waterman Mountain as well. So it's just interesting how you get to see all these lovely trees, and just think about the perspective. Go to the Sierra, the trees are easily much taller, but it's because they get much more rainfall and snow. But regardless, very highly treasure my hikes here in the Southern California mountains, because there's nothing like the juxtaposition of desert, chaparral, riparian, old sycamore and willow woodland, tall coniferous forest, coastal sage scrub, and beach. And here, the Sierras are much further inland than these mountains, so you don't have quite the juxtaposition of coast and desert. Especially in the San Gabriels, you'll be on like Mount Islip. Look to the south, you see the ocean. Look to the north, you see Olancha Peak. in the Sierras. And here, we have some very tall sugar pines here. Got some that are darn near 100. That one's probably about 160, 170 feet tall. This one here is probably about 140, 150. Some very large trees here. And they seem to stick out like sore thumbs because the white firs are fairly small, probably younger growth. Jeffrey and ponderosas are smaller, younger growth. Even some coulter pines too. And then all of a sudden you have these huge sugar pines that just stick out like sore thumbs, like those guys. It's quite interesting. That's how it is sometimes in the St. Gabriels. You'll be in a grove of younger forest like this, probably disturbed by fire previously. And then all of a sudden, you're around a corner, and in the midst of this younger forest, a huge old growth tree just sticks out far above everything else. That's another cool thing about hiking here. Get these smaller trees, much younger trees, and then booyah, much older trees mixing in. So yeah, I'm still hiking towards Constance. Trying to think where I might have missed the turnoff. I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be on the right, but it's all part of the exploration. I'm going to keep pushing on, and on my next video I'll update what's going on, where I am in relation to the peak. Sure is beautiful up here. This is me in my element, pines and firs. So, hiking along here on 1N12 still. I believe the fire break's going to be here. Thinking about leaving the trail here and going across country up this ridge. Looks like a pretty logical idea. I mean, I could follow this around to the south side of the peak and make a very steep cross-country climb up the fire break on the south side of the peak, but I might go for it here. Might just go off trail and just go completely cross-country here. I'm going to think about it for a minute. Another large sugar pine. Nice, beautiful trees here. Got a lot of coulter pines mixing in now. It's these smaller pines. Small in size, big in beauty. That's my motto when it comes to trees. There's a nice, beautiful coulter pine with a leaning trunk. That's where I came from. So I'm basically getting ready to go completely off trail and start climbing up the berm here, or the slope. And I believe this takes you to the false summit. Then you got to dip. Then you got to make a pretty gnarly climb to the top, from what I've read. So this is where the peak. This is where the hiking gets the toughest, probably, for the day. And we've got a nice Jeffrey pine right here. Nice, beautiful size one. About 140 feet tall. Nice tree. There's that sugar pine again. Beautiful tree. So whenever I'm in sugar pine territory, I'm taking lots of pictures of them, and I'm shooting a lot of video of them. I just think they're incredibly beautiful trees. I think all these trees are. Look at these coulter pines, the big, huge cones. The heaviest of all the pine family. They're not the heaviest cones in the world. I believe that honor goes to the bunya, which is Araucaria bidwillii, which is in the Araucariaceae. It's a conifer, but it's not a pine. It's not the pine family. Alright, so I'm going to start climbing up this. This is where I might have to bust out the microspikes, possibly. Maybe not, I don't know. This is where the crux of the climb starts. What I'm going to do is follow this grid. This should lead me to, I believe, the false summit ridge. So, cross country time, baby. Time for the fun. That marks part of the hike. I'm going to keep climbing up. I'll let you know how my progress is going on my next video clip. Till then, I'm gonna have to pay attention walking up this steep slope. So until then, see ya. Well, I've been hiking cross country for a little while. It's very slow going because it's very slippery. Because it's snow. It's slippery, what can I say? But I'm almost at the top of the false summit, I believe. If you read trail reports, you'll know a lot of people mention the false summit along the way. And this should be the false summit coming up here. Then we're supposed to dip to a saddle. Hoping it's not going to be a real sharp dip. The more you dip, the more you have to climb. I'm almost here at the false summit. Path of least resistance. Alright. It's beautiful up here though. I tell you, it's gorgeous. It's a little tricky going with the snow. So I don't see the peak yet, but I have to maybe go around this way. Let's see what we got coming up here. Soil's kind of loose here too. Alright. After I get up here, should have a view of the peak, and yes, I see it. I believe that's it right there. So let's see. Yeah, should be it right there. I'm going to take a short breather up here. That snow makes it very slow going. I'm not used to hiking over snow. But there's Constance Peak. So I'm on another random summit right now. basically, with the snow here, you really don't see a fire break. So I just consider it straight cross country because there's no indication of a trail from here. But from this perch, you can see down towards the small town of Angelus Oaks. You can see towards San Bernardino Peak right there. That's one of the higher peaks in the San Bernardinos. It's 10,649 feet. Not that far from it is San Bernardino East Peak, which is 10,691, which I think is about half a mile or a mile away. I'd like to try that this summer. Not with snow on the ground. But experiences like I'm having here get me a little more used to hiking in the snow. So I'll be able to acclimatize to it. I'm not used to hiking in decent snow. I could have followed the fire road over there to the south base of the peak and then went up the south fire break. That'd be definitely more time consuming. Might have, I don't know if it'd necessarily be easier, but it would be probably snow free or almost completely snow free. See, from what I've read on trail reports, is that this dips to a small saddle. I don't know if it's going to be after this one. Looks like we got two false summits actually. This one was a very small false summit. Then we have another small peak up ahead. It looks like a peak from this angle. We'll go through this canyon and interior live oak thickets here. And we got Yerba Santa, Aerodictyon trichocalix. I believe this is probably subspecies trichocalix. It's this small plant here. I'm also going to be on the lookout for poodle dog bush because this looks like a disturbed area. Poodle dog bush could potentially be found here. I don't see any, but the interesting thing, Yerba Santa, people, I think Native Americans and settlers used the foliage for, I believe, for a tea or a poultice or something, medicinally or for nourishment. The poodle dog bush you hear about, or I hope you've heard about before starting your hikes, is a very close relative of the Yerba Santa. Yerba Santa is in the genus Aerodictyon, Eridictyon, and poodle dog bush used to be in the genus Turricula, and is still often referred to as Turricula, Turrcula. But recently, botanists have reassigned it to the genus Aerodictyon. So it's Aerodictyon perry is the scientific name of poodle dog bush. So that shows whether it stayed in Aerodictyon, or I mean was placed in Aerodictyon or stayed in Turricula, it does have a pretty decent relationship with Yerba Santa. Only you don't want to touch poodle dog, or else you might get a really nasty rash. So you see I'm kind of side hilling it here. Also I've had a bushwhack through that. So now I'm going to go up to this ridge line here. Hopefully I won't have to bushwhack. Oh, I see a rock duck. This is probably the use trail or something of that sort. There's a duck right here. And another one. Trying to see how I can possibly avoid a lot of snow hiking. But I need to get more used to it. This might cause me some bushwhacking. But let's see. There's some ceanothus here. Looks like chaparral whitethorn. Yeah, use trail probably continues where the snow goes. Doesn't matter. I'll find my way there. Just might have to detour around some thickets of chaparral. Well, my next video, I should be at the top of this hill here, which is not that far away, and I should have a hopefully a clear indication of the route I'm going to take to dip to the next saddle, if there is a saddle, and climb up to the summit proper. So I'll see you on the next clip. Hello, this is Brian again. I'm coming past a false summit, the second false summit, and I'm nearing the final summit push to Constance Peak, 6,645 feet. So this March 16th, 2019 will mark another hike to a peak in the San Bernardinos. And that's Constance Peak right there. We're down to the last saddle before the final summit push. And judging by the grade of the terrain, doesn't look exceedingly steep. But since I've been hiking up from Angelus Oaks, came over a couple of false summits, and getting to those false summits was kind of tricky because the snow is very slippery. It's like hard slush. It's kind of a way to look at it. So what I did is I took Forest Service Road 1 and 12 from behind the post office in Angelus Oaks, right off of State Highway 39. There's a place called, I believe it's called the Oaks Restaurant, and there's a post office. And now I'm on the final push to Constance Peak, which is the most prominent peak in this general vicinity. I can imagine the views are going to be pretty interesting because it looks like the top of it's pretty bare, but I got to get over this snow a little bit. Since there's been fire disturbance here, I'm also looking out for poodle dog bush, but so far I only see it's relative to yerba santa. Lots of young manzanitas. But the summit is going to be over that way. So I'll try to get over there. At least get to the summit before my battery dies. I mean, I got more batteries, but I'd hate for it to die out on me. So close to the summit. I'm trying to kind of hasten it up a little bit, but this isn't too bad. Snow's a good several inches deep in spots, maybe a foot deep, but it's not all powdery, so I'm not stepping through it. As you can see, my boots are basically riding the top of it, sometimes going a couple inches in. But it's a beautiful day out here. It's actually getting kind of warm. Sun's out, it's reflecting off of the snow, and it is the middle of March. So just about make it to Constance Peak. Sorry for the wind. Lots of Quercus kelloggi, California black oak. Lots of young oaks up here. Hiking this in October would be pretty neat. Let's see. Should be there pretty soon. I think I see an oracle oak too. Hybrid between the interior live oak, Quercus wesleyanii verdifrucescens, which is an evergreen shrubby live oak, kind of like the stature of this canyon live oak, but sometimes a little bit more upright. And it's a hybrid between that, which is fully evergreen, and this here, black oak, Quercus kelloggi, which is fully deciduous. So, what happens when there's a hybrid between a fully evergreen and a fully deciduous tree? The result can be partial deciduousness. Shrub shaved about half of its leaves. Still has a lot of green leaves left on it. And has shallow lobes, kind of intermittent between the round shape of the interior live oak and the stereotypical lobe shape of the black oak. So we have a nice rounded thicket of oracle oak. So the leaves are a little bit, leaves and consistency are in between the leatheriness of the interior live oak and the thinner black oak. Here's a black oak, for example, fully deciduous. I'm just about at the top of Constance Peak. Should be there very soon. Just snow kind of slows me down a little bit. All right. Let's see. It's pretty up here. All right. Hike through this side here, I guess, a little bit. Let's see. All right. Summit's just over there. It's another fall summit. Got some nice views here. I believe that peak right there, I believe that's Morton Peak. There's a fire lookout up there. Looks like Morton Peak. There are the Santa Anas, Jessica and Santiago to its left. So, looks like the actual summit push is going to be a little bit of a doozy. So, I'm going to need to pay attention because there's a bit of snow on the path. So I'll see you at the top in my next video. Well, just about here. Just about there. Little minor scramble should take me up to the top of this peak. Here it is, Constance Peak, 6,645 feet. That last pitch was a little bit of class 2 in the sense of the loose soil or the loose snow. There's the register, Constance Peak. Talking about it for a couple years. Finally made it. And yes, views are pretty sick. We got San Bernardino Peak. Here's Ukaipa Ridge. I don't know what that summit is right there. Kind of looks neat. And yes, that is Morton Peak over there. That peak in the foreground with the building on top of it. It's hard to see the building probably. Well, it's this peak right here. That's Morton Peak, which is just a little bit above 4,600 feet. About 2,000 feet lower than where we are right now. So the last half a mile or so is a little challenging, a little bit of challenging cross country. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little challenging. I did find some rock ducks here and there. What's this? Most of the route. So basically, it's just a free-for-all cross-country route of poking through the areas of least resistance to get up here. So now, get the town of Angelus Oaks there. That right there, where I was earlier this morning, peak 6040. Here are all the false summits. Been about 3 false summits before getting up here. I know I expected at least one, but I didn't realize there was going to be 3 of them. There were 3 false summits up here. Then we've got views out to the Santa Ana River Canyon, Sugarloaf Mountain. Then you got the nice long ridge here. Then we got Slide Peak and Keller Peak. And a nice pink-backed manzanita, Arctostaphylos pringli subspecies. So, yeah, beautiful March 16th, 2019. Beautiful Saturday morning. Top of Constance Peak in the San Bernardino National Forest. 6,645 feet. I came up from Highway 38 down there, here in the San Bernardino National Forest. Came from beyond that peak right there, that small peak, which is peak 6040. That was the first summit I hit this morning. So behind it, there's a post office, a restaurant. I believe it's called the Oaks Restaurant. So I parked at a turnout about a quarter of a mile before that, walked along the highway for a short distance, then went behind the post office and found Forest Service 1 and 12 and started hiking up that. So what I did is I hiked up Forest Service 1 and 12, then found a spur road, went up there to peak 6040, then went back to the 1 and 12, and I hiked it maybe about a half mile or so, and it basically followed the north-facing slopes of this ridge until it crossed. Basically what it does is it crosses and then it goes to the south side of the ridge. You can see the road down there. This is on the south side of the ridge. So when it crosses at a saddle from the north side of the ridge to the south side of the ridge, what I did is I made a right turn and just started hiking cross country up this ridge here. So I've been following this ridge for a little while. Basically followed this over roughly about 3 false summits. Basically, since there's quite a bit of snow on the route, it's basically a free-for-all cross-country route. I'm just following the paths of least resistance to get up here. There are a few rock ducks placed by hikers to get here along the way. Not many. No, I didn't see many of them. Some of them could be underneath the snow, but they do place them because I believe this is a Sierra Club 100 Peaks section summit. I believe. Pretty sure it is. Whether it is or not really isn't of a huge importance to me, because I just love hiking the summits, whether they're Sierra Club peaks, whether they even have names like that. If you go on this website called peakbagger.com, it's a huge database of peaks, and I do use that very heavily in my research. There are a lot of peaks that are not even recognized on Peakbagger. Like Peak 6040 over there is not even on Peakbagger. So it doesn't have to be on Peakbagger or any of those other websites that pertain to mountain hiking or summits. But I just love the feeling of going to the top of a mountain peak. Just a feeling that makes me feel good. It's a sense of accomplishment. And look at the views from here on top of Constance Peak. This is a fairly well-known peak. It's not, maybe its ticket, it's not quite as big as, say, San Bernardino Peak or Kuiper Ridge or Sugarloaf or San Gorgonio or Butler Peak, which is way off in the cut somewhere there. And it's, it's not a big ticket peak like that, but it's a very nice peak, very rewarding peak. Insane views from here. I'm just blown away by how beautiful it is up here. Up here, it's mostly chaparral. Let's see. I'm going to go to maybe over here. There's a little bit of a vantage point. There's a lot of interior live oak up here. Quercus whistles any variety frutescens. It's this shrub right here. It's often anywhere from a small shrub to a small tree, about 20-something feet in height. So let's see, what kind of vantage can I get from here? Well, you can see the Inland Empire all spread out before us. I can see, I believe, yeah, I can see to I believe that's Box Springs Mountain over there. But beneath this ridge here, there's a big long ridge in the background. I'll get to that in a minute, because that's a very important mountain range to me, by the way. But I can see what looks like Box Springs Mountain, Moreno Valley. I can see Palomar Mountain from here very clearly. It's that long ridge way off to the south. That's Palomar Mountain over there. And it's kind of hazy, but I can even see Cuyamaca Peak just near the geological, or the geographical center of San Diego County is Cuyamaca. But I can see it from here. And Palomar's that big long ridge. The high point is about there, and then there's a big dip, and then there's Agua Tibia Mountain. I have yet to hike Agua Tibia. I've hiked up to high point of Palomar. Then we got some fire breaks. We got a lot of fire breaks around here, I noticed too. Now we get this other peak here, is in the foreground, right here. That's called Morton Peak. There's a fire lookout tower on top of that summit. I've not visited that one. In fact, I've never actually seen it until today. And I've driven past it on coming up from Mentone on the 38. I've probably passed it countless times driving up here to the mountains, because there's a dirt road that leads up to the top of Morton Peak, because there's a fire lookout there. And then there's a low range of hills here. These are called the Crafton Hills, and its high point is called Zanha Peak. It's Z-A-N-J-A, Zanha Peak, and that's about 3,500 feet in elevation. Now, that looks like there's a dam down there. I want to say Seven Oaks Dam. I think that's the name of it. But you can see it clearly down there in the cut. Now we're looking over towards the eastern part of the San Bernardinos, where the elevation gradually, gently lowers until you get to Cajon Pass. I believe I see Strawberry Peak over there, 6,153. I think that's Strawberry Peak. That might be Mount R, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not as fluent with the San Bernardino mountain peaks as I am with the San Gabriels, because I hike much more in the San Gabriels, which are those snow-capped mountains off in the cut, off to the west. But if you're heading west towards Cajon Pass, the elevation's gently lower. Then we got Keller Peak and Slide Peak, which are right next to each other. Keller, Slide. Then, okay, back to this ridge I was talking about earlier. It's a very important ridge for me. That's the Santa Ana Mountains. Basically, they form a wall between Orange County to the south and west, and Riverside County to the north and east. You see the Saddleback Formation. They call that Old Saddleback. That's a colloquial term for what on the left is Santiago Peak and what on the right is Majeska Peak. Santiago Peak is the highest point in the Santa Ana Mountains and the highest point in Orange County at 5,687 feet. Majeska being a close second at 5,496 feet. And then you can see, you can look over towards Pleasance Peak and over towards Sierra Peak, which is barely at 3,000 feet, and it anchors the north end of the Santa Anas. Then going south, I can see Trabuco Peak, Los Pinos Peak, and then it gradually lowers towards the Elsinore Mountains, which is a sub-range of the Santa Anas. I do like to hike in those a lot. Unfortunately, a huge chunk of that mountain range got burnt in the Holy Fire last August. So unfortunately, a lot of it was burnt, which is kind of sad. But you probably see some videos about that on my channel, because I do really like to document the places I hike. Well, this is Constance Peak, again, 6,645 feet, and I am going to go sign the summit register. There's a small register can right next to that manzanita right up there. So you can see countless mountain ranges. The more you hike them, the more you appreciate them. Of course, those are the western San Bernardinos. Here are the eastern San Bernardinos. Santa Ana River Canyon. Then you got the ridge butting up from the north of it. Then you got one of these is Snow Summit. I'm not sure which of these peaks is Snow Summit. Behind it, of course, is the Snow Summit Ski Resort. Then you got Bear Mountain. And then one of these peaks is called Sugar Lump. I'm not sure if it's this one or this one. And then you get the highest point in the San Bernardino National Forest. No, scratch that. Highest point in the San Bernardino Mountains outside of the vast San Gorgonio Wilderness. That's Sugarloaf Mountain at 9,952 feet. I hiked that up a couple years ago. Got caught in a deluge thunderstorm and got hailed on twice. That was an adventure. That was before I started recording videos, of course. But that was an adventure, an interesting day. Made it to the top. Didn't make it before the thunderstorms got to me though, but it's alright. Made it in one piece, made it down in one piece. And of course we got the massive San Bernardino Peak, which is this big, huge mountain that's almost exactly 4,000 feet higher than where I'm standing right now. This is 6,645 feet here. That's 10,649 feet. So pretty close to exactly 4,000 feet higher. So, and that's over towards the 18. Big Bear is between this ridge here and the ridge behind it, which leads towards Delamar Mountain, Bertha Peak, and then towards the Highway 18 going down to Lucerne Valley in the Mojave Desert, which is near where I hiked last week up Eastward Mountain. But that's a dirt road. I'm gonna debate whether I'm gonna hike down this way to catch the south fire break, to get back on the dirt road and just gently follow it along here back, or to go back the ridge route. So sit up here, sign the register, and then do my next plan. And I'll keep you in the loop on my next video. Thanks for watching so far. I appreciate you guys taking interest in me, in my hiking adventures. And the next video should feature me down the way. But now it's time for time for the obligatory selfie, summit signing, and celebratory drink. I'm gonna go open up my backpack and pop open a Powerade. So, just came down from Constance Peak. I'm going south, down the South Fire Break. And grab my jacket. Almost forgot it. So, go down the fire break. Knowing it was probably going to be a steep one, but had no idea I was going to hit a pitch of very hard class 2. Some of that's borderline class 3. So I ended up slipping and scraping my hand a little bit. That's why I put gloves on. Had to wipe it down with some of my wipes. It's hard to get all that dirt off though. But this fire break is much tougher than I thought it was going to be. So it's basically a class 2 fire break with some higher class 2 scrambles and even a small pitch of class 3 if you don't maneuver around it right, which is what I did. I ended up making a misstep on a class 3 rock. And, I mean, I'm not in pain or anything, but that was no fun. So basically, this fire break, I'm going to go down this, and it looks like I got to go over this peak here.